Welcome, welcome, everybody. Greg Peterson from the Urban Farm. There it is right there, the Urban Farm Fruit Tree Program in Phoenix, Arizona. This picture behind me is the gate at the Urban Farm in Phoenix, where I lived for 32 years and taught about fruit trees. In fact, this program started 25 years ago in the living room at the Urban Farm. And I believe this probably, Heidi asked me about this class, and I said, this is the first class that I ever gave, easily 25 years ago. So tonight we are going to be talking planting, watering, and fertilizing. Nope. Uh, we are, if I can share my screen. Oh, there it is right there. They moved the buttons around. It's irritating. All right, here we go. Planting, watering, and fertilizing, extreme tree care for your fruit trees. Especially extreme with the last two hot summers that we've had. I have had more emails this year, this August and September, about people's trees struggling. And quite honestly, there's two main things that is the issue. Lack of nutrition. All right, three main things. Lack of nutrition, which we're going to talk about tonight, incorrect watering, and um, not mitigating for heat. Actually, we're going to talk about all three of those things tonight. So we're going to jump in. Our website, if you go to fruittrees.org, you can find out all about our program. Nope, come back here. All right, getting your trees planted. That is the next one. Yep, that's the next one. You're going to want to dig a square hole. And for your citrus trees and your bare root trees that you're going to pick up in January, you're going to dig a hole that is 2 feet by 2 feet square, and the depth of the pot or the depth of the roots on the bare root plant. So about a foot deep. So if you're pre-digging your holes, you can go a foot deep and a 2 foot by 2 foot square hole. Now, there's a really good reason for that, and it's about trees that in a round hole, the trees can actually get root bound in a round hole, and they are less likely to do that in a square hole. And then for our potted deciduous trees, those are our figs, our mulberries, grapes, berries, that kind of stuff. You want to do a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cube hole minimum. It's always better if you go bigger, because if you go bigger, you're loosening up the soil. Now remember, in the live class, if you have questions along the way, drop them in the Q&A, please. All right. Now, the first most important thing that you can do when you dig your tree hole is to do a perk test or a percolation test. Basically, what this means is that you're going to dig your square hole, and then you're going to fill it up with water and see how long it takes to drain. If you still have water in the hole 2 days later, you got to dig the hole deeper. Usually in the desert, the hole drains in an hour to about 4 hours. So really what you have to look for is this hole retaining water day over day? And quite honestly, in my 30 plus years of planting fruit trees in the desert and working with people, it rarely happens that you get a hole that doesn't drain. But if you do get a hole that doesn't drain, you take pictures of it and you send it to fruittree@urbanfarm.org and say, what do I do about this? And I will send you some links on articles that we've written. Okay. The second most important thing after you've done your percolation test is to manage well what goes back in the hole. And there are 5 components of healthy soil. You have one of them. It's called dirt. And if you plant your tree in straight dirt, good luck. It's likely not going to make it. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it's not going to make it. So 5 components of healthy soil are dirt, airspace, water, organic matter, and everything that's alive in the soil. And there's a really simple fix for this. And that simple fix is, drum roll please, what goes in the planting hole. What I want you to do is take 40% of the native soil that you dug out of that hole, put it in a wheelbarrow. You're going to take Farmer Greg's planting mix. This is a product by Tank's Green Stuff down in Tucson. I've got 15 pallets of it arriving tomorrow morning, so we'll have plenty of it. It is a bagged planting mix product that they make specifically for our program. And you're going to take 60% of the whole volume and add Greg's planting mix. Now, that's usually about a bag and a half. You can't go wrong with 2 bags per tree. So 40% native soil, 60% planting mix, an urban farm tree planting kit. We make these up for you. They include 2 pounds of worm castings from Arizona Worm Farm, 2 pounds of azomite, and 2 ounces of mycorrhiza. And you're going to add that to the wheelbarrow and then add 2 pounds of organic fertilizer. And we're going to talk about organic fertilizer here in a little while. The organic fertilizer we sell is Bioflora, which is made on the west side out in Litchfield Park. So it's a local product, or Tank's Super Mix, which is made down in Tucson. So we actually have 3 local fertilizer products, which is really cool. So you're going to mix all that up and you're going to plant your tree with this. When you're planting your tree, especially with the heat and the hot winds that we've got the past couple of summers, we highly, highly, highly suggest that you do this. Janice calls this the secret planting sauce for potted trees and plants and bare roots. Well, bare roots actually on the next screen. What you're going to do is you're going to take 3 capfuls of each one of the High Creations products. That's maybe an ounce or so. And you're going to mix it in 1 gallon of water. And then you're going to splash it or spray it on the side of your planting hole. What this is doing is this is nutrifying the sides and the bottom of the planting hole. Then you're going to plant your tree according to our directions. And we have a direction sheet that you will be getting, as well as our root camp content. And then you're going to plant your tree, and then you're going to pour the remaining solution into the tree basin before adding your mulch. This is what we call a drench. And this is going to help your trees dramatically. All right. And then there's the root soak sauce. This is for bare root trees. You're going to take 3 capfuls of essence and soil. You're going to put it in 5 gallons of water. You're going to soak those bare root trees. The citrus trees come potted. The bare root trees come in January. You're going to soak those roots of the trees in a bath for 15 to 30 minutes before planting them. And then you're going to plant per our directions, and then you're going to pour the remaining solution as a drench into the basins before you add your mulch on top of the trees. So both of these are adding to the disease resistance of your fruit trees. We are seeing that this drench process and the foliar feeding process, which I'm going to talk about a little later, are making a huge difference on our trees' ability to make it through the hot summers. All right. Then the next thing you're going to do, I'm going to talk about how to plant your tree in a minute. But the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put a basin around every tree. I call this my 6-6 rule. You absolutely must do this. And don't put a 6-inch or a 12-inch or an 18-inch basin around a tree. It needs to be it needs to be 6 foot in diameter with 6 inches of woody mulch. This is an absolute must. What happens at the interface between the dirt and the woody mulch is that it starts making really healthy soil really fast. This woody mulch acts like a sponge and holds on the water onto the water, and it no brain fart. It cools the soil around the base of the tree. And for long-term success, grow the soil around your trees like a forest. This is a handful of mulch that was around a basin in one of the trees at the urban farm when I lived there. And that white stuff, if you have mushrooms or fungus growing in your yard around the trees in the basins, you're doing something right. No, that is a very good thing. Yes, that is a very good thing, but no, KNOW, that is a very good thing. All right. Planting at the correct depth. This is really, really important. Most of our fruit trees are grafted. If you plant the graft union, I don't know, can you guys see my arrow? I think you can. If you plant this tree with the graft union underneath the ground, this tree will die pretty immediately. So with our trees, you can see them with the potted citrus, you can see where they're planted to. You're going to want to plant them to that same depth. With the bare root trees, you want to look, there's a delineation point. The trunk looks different. That's where they were planted before. So you're looking for that delineation point, and you want to bury the root flare and make sure that the rootstock and the graft union have some space above the ground. Mucho, mucho importante. All right. So if you are planting with a basin above ground, you want to make sure that your graft union is above the ground. This one probably is a little deep, but not too bad. And if you're planting with your basin below the ground, so digging into the ground, both places you want to make sure the graft point is above the ground. And see what we've done here? We've got a pile of dirt against the trunk of the tree. We don't have woody mulch against the trunk of the tree. It looks like this. So this is a citrus tree that was planted. This is planted at the correct depth. You'll notice the 6-foot diameter basin of woody mulch around it. And I'm pointing out here, here's the graft point. The root flare is just below the dirt. So this area right here is dirt. So this area right here is dirt, and this area is woody mulch. You never, never want to pile the woody mulch up against the trunk. All right, I'm going to take questions. I'll do the questions afterwards. I see some showing up there. That's really great. Thank you. All right. Next most important thing is you want to shade your tree and your soil, and you want to do it in this order. Mulch, 6 inches of woody mulch. Must do, must do, must do. If you are planting in a lawn, you still must do this for multiple reasons. If you watch the class from last week, which is in root camp, I talk about how to plant or make basins in lawns. And it's really important because your Bermuda grass can and will outcompete your tree. So what we need to do, if you're planting in a lawn, you need to bump that Bermuda grass 3 foot away from the trunk of the tree, 6-foot diameter basin, put your woody mulch in, and then make sure that you water it deeply. And over time, what will happen is the grass can grow back, but the tree will get established before the grass grows back. And then number two thing to shade your tree, and what I want to note, what I want you to notice is the first three things have nothing to do with actually shading the canopy of the tree. So number two is plant a ground cover. We give away cowpeas every year. I got a slide for that here in a little while. Cowpeas love the heat. They're do great on the same watering schedule as your trees, as do sweet potatoes. And you get sweet potatoes, organic sweet potatoes at the grocery store. And then wrap your tree trunk or treat your tree trunk. We will have information about biodynamic tree paste. We had a presentation about biodynamic tree paste at the launch, and that'll be uploaded into Root Camp as well, so you'll be able to rewatch that. Biodynamic tree paste is basically a clay manure based fertilizer that you put right on the trunk of the tree. It protects it from sun, and it's getting nutrients right through the trunk of the tree. They work really great. I learned about it originally 25 years ago. I went to a conference in California on urban farming, and they were talking about poo paint. And so really important to at least wrap your tree trunk. I would highly suggest that you wrap it with biodynamic tree paste, and you'll be able to buy that through the Josephine Porter Institute directly from them. And then you're going to plant shade. You may or may not have to plant shade or put up paid for shade. If you have any questions about that, fruittree@urbanfarm.org, you snap a picture and you send it to me and say, after you've planted your trees, say, Greg, do these trees need to be shaded? And we'll be able to brainstorm through that. So planting shade is either planting your fruit trees on the east side of some kind of larger tree or a building so that your tree gets sun from sun up until noon or 1 o'clock, or pay for shade, which is a shade structure, which some of you may have to do that the first year. All right, now we're going to jump into watering. And I have to tell you, this watering methodology freaks people out. And I can kind of understand why. I planted my first fruit trees in the low desert in 1975. I lived in a house called the Weldon House at 28th Street in Weldon, and we had flood irrigation there. Flood irrigation came 26 times a year, essentially once a month in the winter, twice a month in the summer. And guess what? My trees thrived. They absolutely did amazingly well. And so I took that to heart. And what I suggest that you do is you're going to plant your trees and you're going to water them once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer, with a huge caveat about the summer. So here's what it's going to look like. You're going to plant your citrus in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Our nursery is open this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to get your citrus trees. And we have all of your supplies. We got fertilizers, mulch, soil, the planting mix. We've got foliar feeds. We've got all your supplies. And then plant your deciduous trees. Deciduous trees go dormant in the winter. Those are apples, peaches, apricots, plums, mulberries, jujubes, olives, those kinds of things. Those all come in January. You'll pick them up the second half of January and plant them the second half of January. The bare root trees need to be planted within 36 hours or so of you picking them up. So having your holes pre-dug is really important. So you're going to plant your citrus trees in September, October. You're going to late September, October. You're going to plant your deciduous trees in January. And then once you plant them, you're going to start deep watering them. For your citrus trees, I would water them every 2 weeks until November 1st. And then from November 1st till about April 1st, you're going to water them once a month. And then about April 15th, you're going to start watering your trees every 10 days to 2 weeks. I say start with 2 weeks and you give them a good deep water. I'm not talking about a drip emitter, a single drip emitter. I'm talking about a bubbler, a drip ring that goes around your tree so that the entire basin gets flooded with water. That's the kind of water your trees are going to need. If you're putting them on 1 or 2 drip emitters, good luck with that. It's not going to work. We actually have something called a drip ring that has half-gallon per hour drip emitters in there. And the ring has 20 drip emitters on it. So you're getting what, 10 gallons per hour? And you let that run for maybe 10 hours so that you're getting a good, solid, deep water on the tree. Now, why this methodology? Because, and I had it happen yesterday. I had a guy email me and he said, my tree's dying. I said, send me a picture. He sent me a picture. I said, how much are you offering? Or how much are you offering? How much are you watering? And they were watering every other day. And that is way, way, way too much water. And the tree was droopy and getting crispy leaves. And what happens is people think if my tree's droopy and getting crispy leaves, it needs more water. So they give it more water and then it droops more. And then you give it more water and it droops more. So what I want you to do is I want you to water then every 10 days to 2 weeks. And when it gets super hot on June 1st or June 10th or June 15th, you're going to start watching your tree. And if you water on June 1st and 7 days later, your tree's droopy, you know you're not overwatering your tree, then you give it some more water. That is my watering methodology. And I want you to use a moisture meter, for sure, a moisture meter, and we'll have them. I think they're about 10 or 12 bucks to manage watering as well. That'll help you get a clue on, is this tree super dry or does it need, or is it super wet? And you just take, it's usually about 1 foot long, and you take the probe and you stick it around the base of the tree and it'll tell you if it needs water or not. So that is my watering methodology. There is a full document, PDF document in Root Camp on how this watering methodology works. Mary Lynn says, how do water meters work? Basically, a water meter is it's a moisture meter, and it's got a long stake probe on it and a little box at the top. Usually the probe's about 1 foot or so, 8 inches to 1 foot. I have a 2-footer that I bought. The ones that are 8 inches to 12 inches usually are 10 to 12 bucks. I think I paid $80 for my moisture meter. And you just take that probe and probe it into the soil around the base of the tree where the roots would be. And there's a meter on it, and it'll tell you, is it dry, is it medium, or is it wet? And what we need to have happen with fruit trees is we need it to go from wet to at least low medium before you water again. All right. How much do you water? I can't tell you because I don't know what your soil's like. And it really depends on your soil. Your moisture meter is going to help a lot. A soil probe is a 3-foot metal rod that you use, and that'll tell you how deep the water is getting. And basically you take that rod and you stick it in, and that rod will go in as deep as the soil is moist. Once the soil is no longer moist, the rod won't go in any farther. Rods are great. We have them available. We have a local guy that makes them for us. if you're doing a 3 to 6 hour drench on your basin with a lot of water, it's likely it's getting that deep. So there you go. And then, yes, you heard it, more woody mulch. All right, now we're going to jump into fertilizing. One of the biggest things that I see over and over and over, and I get dozens of tree pictures every month. In fact, if you're working with us, you have my permission to snap a picture of a tree, fruit trees mostly. I can't tell you about other trees mostly. Snap a picture and send it to fruittree@urbanfarm.org. We are here to help. And I am getting a lot of pictures these days where fruit trees aren't getting enough. If you're just feeding your tree once or twice a year with non-organic fertilizer, that's not enough fertilizer. It's not enough, especially for new trees. Now, once your tree is long established, if you've been doing these processes, you can throw less at them. But at least for the first 5 years, you've got to throw, in our desert soils, you've got to throw a lot of nutrients at them. So granular fertilize on Valentine's Day, Tax Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. That's just Valentine's Day, Tax Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day, 4 times a year, granular fertilizer. We highly, highly suggest that you use an organic fertilizer like BioFlora or Tank Supermix. Both of these products, BioFlora is made in Litchfield Park, Tank Supermix is made in Tucson. Both of these products are excellent Omni certified organic products. And we highly recommend them. The cool thing about BioFlora is this is not a nursery product. It is a product for farmers. I have been buying from Global Organics. They make the BioFlora product line. I have been buying from Global Organics since 2004. 20 years I've been buying from them. And they primarily sell to farmers. So they're selling it by the truckload or the pallet, and we get it from them by the pallet. So this product generally isn't available for end users like you and me, for that matter. The nice thing about it is that it's a 50-pound bag and it's $60. It is an organic fertilizer, 50 pounds for $60. That is a screaming deal. And we have kept that price. We've had that price at least for 10 years. And we've kept that price sturdy. And I'm committed to, as long as I can, keeping it that price. So stock up on that. And what you're going to do is you're going to use 1 pound. I measured it out. That's about 2.5 cups for 1 pound for each 1-inch trunk diameter. Okay, what does that mean? Here's your example. This was the apricot tree in the front yard of the urban farm. It's got a 4-inch diameter trunk, about a foot above the soil level. So what that means is you're going to take 2.5 cups times 4, or 10 cups, and you're going to distribute it evenly in the basin around the tree. If you're measuring it out by the pounds, that's a 4-inch trunk times 1 pound. So you're going to put 4 pounds. 10 cups and 4 pounds are roughly synonymous. And this is per fertilizing date. You're going to do this on Valentine's Day. You're going to do it on Tax Day. You're going to do it on Memorial Day, and you're going to do it on Labor Day. And I've had several people say that they didn't do the Labor Day fertilizing because it was so hot outside. You have to do the August fertilizing, second half of August to the first week of September. That is one of the pivotal times to be able to do the fertilizing. So make sure that you do, because of the heat, granular fertilizing is still must do. All right, here's what they look like. That's your 50-pound bag of Bioflora. The one in front is Super Mix. That's a 10-pound bag. Like I said, they're both excellent. We carry them both. Highly, highly recommend organic only. The reason being is because remember, 5 components of healthy soil: dirt, airspace, water, organic matter, and everything that's alive in the soil. So everything that's alive in the soil, if you're using non-organic fertilizer, it can burn the life in the soil. So you definitely want to use organic fertilizer, and then you're going to fertilize and then deep water. We have all these products available at store.urbanfarm.org. Yes, the fertilizer does not go, I guess I should say no, the fertilizer does not go on top of the mulch. That's the next slide. You want to put the fertilizer underneath. Yes, Mary Lynn, you can do the Labor Day fertilizing now, and it would be a really good idea to do that. Get your trees fertilized now. In fact, the nursery will be open this weekend, this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the 21st and 22nd of September, 2024, and the following weekend. So if you need product, you can come down to the nursery and get it. You can pre-order it at store.urbanfarm.org or send me an email at greg@urbanfarm.org if you have questions about that. All right, next slide. This is my fertilizer shovel wedge technique. This gets the fertilizer below the woody mulch and away from your dogs. If you've got a dog, your dog is going to love this fertilizer. So what I do is I take the shovel, and I usually use a sharpshooter shovel. A sharpshooter shovel is a long, skinny shovel. It's usually about 16 inches long and about 6 inches wide. And I take the shovel and I drill it down into the soil, move it back and forth. It'll leave a wedge in the soil. You pour that fertilizer into the wedge and then cover it back up with dirt and or woody mulch. And you're going to do this in I left it in there, man. 6 areas around the canopy. That should say 4 or 6 areas around the canopy. What about roots, cutting roots? If you're doing this 3 or 4 times a year and you're 6 to 18 inches away from the trunk, 12 to 18 inches away from the trunk when you're doing it, a little bit of root pruning is not a bad thing for the tree. And that's what it's called. It's called root pruning. So it is not going to hurt the tree. And then there's the foliar feeding. And this is our product that we absolutely love. Anthony and Derek's run High Creations. They make these products out in Litchfield Park. These are incredible products. We have a nutrition schedule. You're going to see it here in a minute. It's free in Root Camp that talks about how to do it. Foliar feeding and drench feeding. Let's talk about those real quick. Foliar feeding is actually spraying nutrition right on the trunk and leaves of the tree. This is super, super important. The thing is, you do not want to foliar feed when it's above 85 degrees. So you're going to have to discontinue during the hottest part of the summer. You can still do drench. And drench feeding is you take, like we mentioned earlier, a couple of capfuls of each one of these, put them in a couple gallon bucket of water, and just pour it around the basin of the tree. That's what's called drench feeding. And this helps the tree's immune system. It makes them much more resilient when it comes to the heat and the wind. And so we have made up a modular kit for your pump sprayer. And it consists of the spray head and then the little nipple here. You're going to go buy one of these pump sprayers. and take the sprayer end off and put this on it. It works magically. And it speeds up the process dramatically. And they're called sprayer mod kits. We'll have them in the shop when the nursery's open, or you can buy them on our website. All right, so we talked about drenching, we talked about foliar, we talked about planting this with the secret sauces. The High Creations crew helped us create. Yep, there it is. So this nutrition schedule, it tells you what to do on a quarterly basis. This is a free PDF in Root Camp. I actually think it's in our store as well as a free PDF. Laminated copies are available. I think they're $5. They're available to ship to you or in our store when we're open. But our crew at High Creations and Janice and Ray made this up. We actually have one made up that's on the other side of this as well for your garden. So your garden vegetables. So this is a resource that we created and we give it to you for free. So much of our education is for free. All right, then there's the cowpeas. Cowpeas are a nitrogen fixer. That's what they look like. They pretty much grow wild at the urban farm and several places around town. We have multiple people that grow them out for us, and then we package them up and put them in little packages. And that's Ray standing in Janice's backyard, and those are cowpeas. That's how thick they can get. It's really amazing what they do. A cowpea is a nitrogen fixer. Generally, once they're established in your yard, you don't have to plant them again. They just come back year after year after year. And they're a hot season crop. They will grow April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then they die back. They're a nitrogen fixer. And what that means is they're taking nitrogen from the air and the soil. So when they die back, that just becomes part of your mulch for the next year. It's really cool. And then the other thing that you can plant around the base of your trees is sweet potatoes. You get sweet potatoes at the grocery store, let them sit out on the counter in March and April until they start budding out. Make sure they're organic when you buy them. And then you cut them in one or two pieces. And there's an article on urbanfarm.org about how to actually grow them. If you want to start them in jars of water, you can do that. And then what I want you to do for both the cowpeas and the sweet potatoes, you're going to push back the soil or the mulch. You're going to put some planting mix in the hole. You're going to plant these in the planting mix. And you're going to want to water these every day until they show up, until they start growing. So just a little bit of water in that little basin that you made for the cowpea or sweet potato. And then once they're established, they are on the same watering schedule as your fruit trees. This is the difference that it makes. And I use this in every single presentation that I make. This picture was taken in August in the afternoon, August of 2017 in the afternoon in the front yard of the urban farm. I kid you not, it was 140 degrees with no ground cover, and 6 inches, it was 120 degrees, 6 inches down, and it was 89 degrees under the sweet potatoes. It makes this difference. This is so, so incredibly important, especially in the heat of the summer. So don't not, I know it's a double negative, don't not do this. Make sure you do this. It will make all the difference for the survival of your trees. All right, so I got a couple of commercials here for you, then we're going to take questions. I do garden consults, and you can find them in our shopping cart. And I will, when we stop the presentation, I will put a link for the garden consults in the chat box. Sorry, my brain's running a little fast this evening. Basically, it's an hour-long virtual conversation. You send me pictures of your yard and your address, and we chat about anything you want to talk about. And I give you coaching on what's going to work best in your yard. The difference that this makes for people. I had a lady about 8 years ago come and do a garden consult with me, and she said, "Oh man, I so wish that I would have done this before I spent $1,000 on trees and they all died." I can help you navigate any problems like that so that you're more successful. Uh, they come with a money back guarantee. I've been doing them for 15 years with a money back guarantee, and I have never, and I do dozens of them a year, and I have never once had a request for people to get their money back. I promise you, you will get more than your money's worth out of our conversation. All right, then there's our citrus program. Our citrus program runs from basically June 1st with education and pre-ordering of citrus trees to the end of September. We're going to be open this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is September 20, 21, and 22, 2024. And next Friday and Saturday and Sunday for you to come and get supplies and pick up your fruit trees. We still have a very limited supply of 15 gallons. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 or 6 15-gallon trees left. And we have a few more of the 5-gallon trees. The reason we do this now is because I have found in growing fruit trees in the low desert for over 45 years, the best time to plant citrus trees is end of September, early October. That way they can get established and growing before it gets too cold, and really get established and growing before it gets too hot next summer. So that's our citrus program. Oh, this will give you an idea of what a citrus tree size should be. On the left there is a 5-gallon size, or a number 5 size. The next tree, and that trunk on that tree is 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit bigger sometimes. The 15-gallon tree is the tree in the middle, and that tree, the trunk on it, you see I'm 5'11", so it's well over 6 feet tall. That trunk of that tree should be 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches diameter at the base. And then the 20-inch box tree on the right, that's easily 9 feet tall. And that trunk of that tree should be 1.5 inches to about 4 inches. Now, we don't carry 20-inch box trees. We can't do it with the way our program works. Maybe in future years, but it's pretty hard to bring in the 20 or 24-inch box trees. But what I want to give you a heads up about is often what'll happen is other nurseries around town will buy a 15-gallon tree. They'll up pot it into a 20-inch box and sell it for a 20-inch box price. So if you think about that, you can see the problem with it. So there's an article in Root Camp and on our website called "Are You Paying Too Much for Your Fruit Trees?" Go read that. I've done the research. It's there for you. All right. And then our deciduous program starts again about June 1st for pre-orders. And it runs through the end of December. We still have our deciduous bundles available. They're early bird specials that you can check out. There's really great prices on bundled trees. And that the bundles and the early bird pricing go away on around November 1st. And then the deciduous trees start arriving in late December, early January. We do some work on the lot to make sure that they get cleaned up and are ready for you to come and pick up. And then the second half of January, you come and get your trees from us. These are low desert proven fruit trees. 25 years ago, when I started this program, I discovered that you can go into most nurseries in every big box store and they will sell you a fruit tree that will never make fruit. And that just made me mad. It still happens today at nurseries that if I said the names of the nurseries, you would know who they were. And there's multiple reasons that that's a problem. Go back and listen to our what you need to know before you buy your fruit trees. A lot of it has to do with chill, the amount of cold that we get. If you plant a high chill tree in a low chill area, it's likely you're never going to get fruit. And I've seen it this season. I've seen nurseries selling trees that are too high chill for the low desert. So we've done all the work for you. The trees that we bring in are low chill. They work in the low desert. They're climate appropriate. They're on the right rootstocks. These trees will work. If you do what we tell you to do, you're going to get fruit. All right. So your next steps are join Root Camp. For sure, join Root Camp. It's a free masterclass on growing fruit trees really anywhere, but primarily in the desert. All of these tactics work. I've proven that here in North Carolina. And there's over 60 lessons in there. Some of them are 4-minute lessons. Some of them are classes like this. Place your pre-order at store.urbanfarm.org. You have to pick up your trees at our location. We do not ship. These trees are primarily for the low desert. And I've had people come in from Mexico, from New Mexico, from Nevada, and from Southern California to get trees from us. Pick up your citrus into September and your deciduous in January, and you can learn about our entire program at fruittrees.org. And this is our ultimate goal, to get fruit. This picture on the left came from a customer about 4 or 5 years ago. They were so excited they were actually getting peaches off of their peach trees. Picture on the right is the old countertop at the urban farm. Those are Anna and Dorset golden apples, and this picture was taken around the end of June because that's when apples are, the appropriate apples for the low desert are ripe at the end of June. And so that tells me also that those are mid-pride peaches, and mid-pride peaches are amazing peaches. So there you have it. I'm going to stop the share, and we are going to jump into, you guys can see me okay, right? We're going to jump into questions. Sandy said, I'm just going to have to take them the way they come. So I'll read them and we'll address them. Sandy says, I have given a potted fig tree. I was given a potted fig tree and wish to replant it in a bigger pot. Can I do that now or wait till spring? You can do it now. We highly, highly, highly suggest that you put it in the ground. Growing fruit trees in pots in the desert is really hard. Now, if you're going to keep it in a pot, one of the big things to do is make sure that the pot is always in the shade. The tree has to be in the sun. So plant a sweet potatoes or cowpeas in the pot so it's draping over the pot, but that tree can cook, the pot can cook. Plus, that watering methodology that I gave you is not for pots. That is for in-ground trees. All right. Citrus do have a root flare. It's harder to see, but you're going to, Mary Lynn, you're going to plant that citrus tree at the same depth that it is planted in the pot. It's really easy to see. Did I say that citrus trees need to be planted within 36 hours? No. Citrus trees can stay in the pot for a while. They're potted. The bare root trees, and bare root, if you don't know what that means, it's okay. If you don't know what that means, it means you're getting a tree without any dirt around its roots. There's no soil around the roots of your tree. That's what they call bare root tree. And it's actually the best way to plant a tree. If you can get it deciduous, because you're getting it when it's dormant, you're taking it home and you're putting it in the ground while it's dormant. in the place that it's going to live the rest of its life. Most nurseries take that tree, they put it in a pot, and then they sell it to you. And if you take it home and pull it out of the pot, all the soil falls off of the, can fall off of the root ball, and it can put the tree into shock. So citrus trees can stay in the pot for several months. You're just going to have to make sure that the pot stays shaded and gets watered every day or two. Deciduous trees, the bare root deciduous trees need to get planted within 36 hours. Some of our potted deciduous trees, they could stay in the pot for a week or two, but you want to get them in the ground pretty quickly. I hope that answered the question, Isaac. Let's see here. Eva says, I thought the brand new citrus shouldn't be fertilized during the first year. That is, in my world, that is totally false. If you don't fertilize them and put them in the ground, how are they going to get their jump start? So yes, fertilize your tree when you're planting it. And you never, remember I said 2 pounds of organic fertilizer in the hole. Organic fertilizer is not going to burn the roots. So I don't know what that's about, Eva, but yes, fertilizer tree, first year, absolutely. Let's see. Mary Lynn, I don't know whether cowpeas are going to be available this weekend. Probably not, although ask Tammy at the front desk when you check in. She may or may not have cowpeas, but you don't plant them until March or April anyways. So yeah, check with Tammy. All right, let's see. Janet says, just want to clarify, we are watering at drip line. So I can still use the plug and play drip circles if you sell them, if you sell, if my tree is established and the canopy is bigger than the circumference. Yes. So drip line is, let me explain that. If you're looking straight down from the top of the tree, if you were able to get up 20 feet and look straight down, the drip line is the area underneath the tree that you can't see. And yes, you can still use the drip line, the drip circles inside the drip line. Now, you may have to use 2 of them if you have a big enough tree. Although I think you get about a 6-foot diameter on the drip line when it's completely unrolled. So I hope that helped, Janet. All right. Are the ground cover crops in place or in place of or in addition to mulch? Oh, Matthew, great question. Absolutely mulch, absolutely ground cover plants. You do both. That is a must do. All right, Pam wants to know if I pick up my trees tomorrow, but it's actually Friday, although yeah, Pam, I think it's Friday for sure. How fast do they have to be planted? They're potted. There's citrus. I'm pretty sure you're the Pam with the community garden that we've been talking. So you've got 3 citrus. A couple 3 weeks. Make sure they don't dry out and keep the pots in the shade. The apple that you saw in the picture was either an Anna or a Dorset Golden. All right. Let's see here. My Oro Blanco tree, some of the fruit is drying up. So I want you to send me a picture at fruittree@urbanfarm.org, please. I want a picture standing back 8 feet and a picture of the fruit that's drying up. I need to know how old the tree is as well. So what I'm looking for, just so you know, what I'm looking for is there a basin around the base of the tree? Is there woody mulch around the base of the tree? How is it being watered? It's not surprising that it might be drying up this time of year with all the heat that we've had. Um, how old is the tree? If it's a brand new tree in year 1, 2, or 3, it's that may be happening. So I need more questions answered, Kathleen. So answer those in an email to me. Janet wants to know, do you anticipate stocking the fine composted mulch again? It really helped as a topper to the other mulch, made it easy for my garden loving 4-pound dog to avoid getting mulch in her hair. Good question. We won't have that this weekend. Send me and Janice, send an email to fruittree@urbanfarm.org, and we may be able to get some maybe next weekend or for sure in January. All right. Gary says, we're coming down the home stretch here. Gary says, we planted a lemon and lime about 4 feet from a south-facing block wall. Will the heat from the wall be bad for the plants? It depends. I need to see a picture of that, Gary. If you have gravel and a block wall, it's likely going to be hard, very hard on the tree. If you have your basin in place, the woody mulch basin with 6-foot diameter with the woody mulch, with the green cover crops growing in the basins, it's likely that there's not going to be a problem. So I just need to see a picture of that. Any tips for keeping animals from enjoying the fruits from our trees, pomegranates? Well, the animals would be birds and maybe a few rodents. You want to bag them. You know, they sell little bags for the fruit, or bags for the entire tree. And a bag for the entire tree would be tulle, Tulle, and you buy it at the fabric store. All right. Janet says, I found my consult with you in March so informative and valuable. I have been following through on those goals, and it's made a huge difference, better than I anticipated. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate it. She said, I removed the sod from side of the house and have been watering and weeding with a plan to mulch next to that area so I can plant trees over the next year. Is it advisable to just mulch and then water regularly while you're prepping? Absolutely. One of the first things that I did here last summer when I went to plant my fruit trees is we dug the trenches. I actually dug swales and backfilled them with woody mulch. In fact, I still have about 300 linear feet of swales that are just filled with mulch at this point. So the mulch is breaking down. Let's see. Is it advisable just to add mulch and then water regularly? Yes. Or should I handle it as a broken basin, as I did with my other trees, to give it a jump start? If you're just doing the basins right now, just start with the woody mulch. Great questions. All right. Let's see here. Just wanted to confirm, this is anonymous, about watering 10-gallon drip ring and run it for 10 hours, roughly 100 gallons per watering, 100 gallons per month in the winter and 200 gallons. Yes-ish. You're going to have to follow my watering methodology. That's a good place to start. And then use tools and your eyes to see how the tree is doing. Because again, I don't know how your soil. If it's really sandy soil, you're going to have to water more often and less water. If it's really clay soil, you're going to have to water less often with more water. So it's something you have to play with. All right. Janet says, found the permaculture article interesting, the one about multiple trees in a hole. Does this work in the desert? It absolutely works in the desert. This comes out of a document called Backyard Orchard Culture. It is in the root camp program. Sorry, brain fart there. And you could absolutely do a peach trio pack that way. Yes, 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 absolutely. If you have more questions about that, you can shoot me an email as well. Tim says, will you have 5-gallon orange trees Friday? Most likely. Let's see, oranges, oranges, oranges. I have daisy, mandarins. I've got Cara navels. Cara navels, an amazing navel orange. I've got regular navel oranges in 5 gallons. I've got Orlinda oranges and Trovitas. Trovitas is another amazing orange. So yes, we will have 5-gallon trees on the lot on Friday. And that is at 4549 North 7th Street. And they're open from 9 until 11:30 and 12:30 to 3. It's best to get an appointment. If you don't grab an appointment, it might be a little bit of a wait. But I'll tell you what, it used to be. So I've been running this program for 25 years, and I've actually been running it at this warehouse for 15 years. And it used to be that some days people would wait 2 or 3 hours to pick up their trees from us. And when COVID hit, we put everybody on appointments and everything runs so much better. You'll be in and out within 30 minutes with all your stuff and education. We do have crew on the lot to help you, to answer your questions, to help you make sure you get the right amount of supplies like that. Hey, Cassie, how's it going? I would love, love, love to see pictures of your project. Cassie says, I was going to do 2 trees in 1 hole. Can you do that if the trees are 2 different sizes, or I should keep them similar size? 2 different sizes is fine. What I generally don't do with multiple trees in 1 hole, and now I should clarify. I'll clarify in a minute. I don't put different kinds. So I wouldn't put a citrus and a peach in the same hole, or I wouldn't put an apple and a peach in the same hole. So if I'm going to put them in the same hole, I would make them the same kind of trees. And what I want to clarify is I'm not talking about a 2-foot by 2-foot by 1-foot deep hole with 2 trees in it. If you're going to go 2 trees, you're going to need a 2-foot wide by 4-foot long hole or 3-foot long hole. So the hole has to be bigger. If you have questions about that for me, Cassie, send me an email. That's what I'm here for. Kathleen, Oro Blanco, fruit tree at urbanfarm.org, or you can always send it to Greg at urbanfarm.org. All right. iPad says, can a square hole be more than 2 feet by 2 feet for a citrus tree? It absolutely can be. And the depth of the hole is the depth of the pot for the citrus trees. And make sure that you do your perk test. Really, really important. Lisette says, thank you. This was my first time tuning in with you. Very informative. You'll be joining on more of our classes. Great. If you missed the last 2 classes, join up for Root Camp because the replays are in Root Camp. And Root Camp is again free. It is a 60+ lesson masterclass on growing fruit trees. And you find it at urbanfarm.org/root camp. Or there's a link to it on fruittrees.org as well, right on the. And Gary, not sure what to know. Okay. I think, Gary, you were the one planting them next to a block wall. You said no basin, just dirt. Both plants already died. Yeah, that happens. Sorry. Follow my directions and your trees will be a lot happier. All right. Matthew says, what's the best tool for digging the hole in Arizona? Wet the soil first, Matthew. That'll help a lot. you might have to use a jackhammer if you're using hey, here's an interesting story. About 15 years ago, a buddy of mine planted a bunch of fruit trees in a friend's backyard near Piastua Peak. And it was granite that we were planting in. And we had to use a jackhammer. And the soil perked okay, or the granite area perked okay. And the trees exploded because of all the micronutrients that were in the granite. It was really cool. So rent a jackhammer, make sure you do your perk test. All right, iPad 2 says, when will this session be available in Root Camp? I'll do my best to get it up tomorrow. And the version from last year is in there. So if you want to review it tonight, it's still in there. Matthew says, I'm planting 5 to 6 trees, so a jackhammer it is. Good. Anonymous says, I'm adding an Arizona sweet orange tree tentatively on the east side with a bigger area for spread. A clementine tangerine tentatively on the west side in a smaller spot. Does it make more sense, or should I swap them? You're going to need to send me pictures of that space, fruittree@urbanfarm.org, and tell me what you mean by east side and west side. Is it an eastern exposure? An eastern exposure gets sun from sunup until noon and is in the shade in the afternoon. A western exposure gets sun from noon until sundown and gets sun all afternoon. So that's an eastern exposure when the sun, okay, good. So, yep, an eastern exposure, Steve, is when the sun comes up. Yep. And an eastern exposure is great for peaches, apples. I know that Arizona Sweet's going to be a little bit tougher. So I would put the Arizona Sweet in a western exposure. That means it's getting sun from noon until sundown. I hope that answered the question. All right. What a great class. Thank you, everybody. We had most of you stick around for the class. So awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Donna said, let's see here. Janet says, FYI, I used an auger bit on a drill to help get through the hole digging process. Also to make the holes to put the recommend amendments when fixing broken basins. Auger bit on a drill could work. It depends how hard the soil is. Ingrid says, you guys sell a drip ring. How much water does it emit compared to a bubbler? If you have a bubbler in your system, you don't want to put a drip ring in. Stay with the bubblers. And I can't answer that, Ingrid, compared to a bubbler, because it depends how big the bubbler is. You know, how much water is the bubbler putting out? Pam says, thank you, Greg. Always fun and educational. I appreciate that. Donna says, love the webinars, really love your fruit tree program. The pickup lot is really festive with a great staff. All your hard work over the years shows, and great program. Thank you so much. So here, let me tell you about the lot. We're open. We're a pop-up nursery. We're open for 6 days at the end of September, early October. It's the end of September this year, and about 12 days at the end of January. And we have three rules on the lot. Rule number 1 is be safe. And we really drill that in, have people slow down, make sure they're being conscious about what they're doing. Rule number 2 is have fun. If we're not having fun, there's no reason to do this. And rule number 3 goes to rule number 2, and that's don't steal Janice's purple pen. So there you have it. S. Dibble says, thank you, Greg. I look forward to years of future success in creating an orchard. Absolutely. Hi, Janet says another great class. Thank you. Sandy Wood says thank you. Everybody, thank you. It is 10:15 here on the East Coast. I'm going to go have a snack and watch the finals from last night of America's Got Talent. So that's one of my favorite shows. I love America's Got Talent because it's normal people showing up to do extraordinary things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. We'll maybe see you this weekend. You'll see my crew this weekend. I won't be there, but I will be there in January. And I will be there for the Great American Seed Up in October. So see you then. Thank you, thank you.